right. Hello, people of YouTube land, and those that are part of the Cringe Crew Gaming Community Discord, and those that follow Ted and I on Twitch, and those that are listening to this on Spotify or whatever, audio streaming service that you're listening to that this is put on. I am Traductus.
And I'm Ted.
And this is the Cringe Crew Gaming Movie Review Podcast, and we finally got to Oppenheimer for the Christopher Nolan series because we were dumb and didn't line this up to have it come out when Oppenheimer came out, and on top of that, it took me forever to watch the movie.
Yeah,
when it did come out. Sorry, but
even still, this is easily our closest to timeline relevant that we've ever done a podcast. Also, super excited that we get to review this movie as an event, as a big cultural thing. Pretty excited.
Yeah. And spoiler alert, I will say on this: no, I didn't do the Barbenheimer.
I didn't either, but I am kind of interested to go see Barbie. I've heard really good things about it, so it may come around to it.
It's actually kind of like a feminist piece, which is really interesting.
Yeah. Anyway, to Oppenheimer.
But yes. So obviously a Christopher Nolan movie, released July 11th. 2023 at the Le Grand Rex, and in the United States and United Kingdom, July 21st, 2023. Had a budget of $100 million and had a box office return of $585.2 million so far.
Important detail.
Yeah. That being said, this movie was filmed in IMAX 65 millimeter, and we did not see this in IMAX. And also sections of it are in IMAX black and white film photography. And like previous works, Nolan used extensive practical effects and minimal computer-generated imagery. And as we stated before, it was released simultaneously with Warner Brothers' Barbie, which led to the Barbenheimer phenomenon, and saw social media career audience to watch both films as a double feature. So far, it is the 8th highest grossing film of 2023, and probably not adjusted for inflation, but the highest grossing World War II related film, and the 10th highest grossing R-rated film of all time.
Interesting.
Just
trying to come up with 7 movies this year that are higher than it. Anyway, not important.
This actually has a star-studded freaking cast. We have Cillian Murphy as J. Robert Oppenheimer, Emily Blunt as Kitty Oppenheimer, his wife, Robert Downey Jr. as Louis Strauss, Josh Hartnett as Ernest Lawrence, freaking Casey Affleck's in this as Boris Pash, Rami Malek as David L. Hill, Kenneth Branagh as Niels Bohr, Christ, Tim Conti as Albert Einstein. I know Matt David's in this. I'm trying to find out where the hell his credit is on this shit.
It's General something, but yeah, I forget his character's name.
But there's a lot of people. Gary Oldman as Harry S. Troop. God damn it.
Oh man, I don't even know. There were so many people there. I don't even know that I recognize that as being Gary Oldman in the moment. I'm going to be completely honest with you.
Right.
I know he's a chameleon anyway, but goddamn, dude.
Oh, there. That David is General Leslie Groves.
Yep.
But basically, this is kind of like spot the guy that Christopher Nolan worked with before. It was almost like Christopher Nolan actor bingo with this movie.
It was genuinely everybody but Alfred and then some. Like, I mean, you can recognize almost every character in this movie from something else that they've done. They're all like B-list at worst. Like, there are so many people in this movie. I can't imagine how much of the budget went to cast. Holy shit.
Yeah. And the production, I would say, following the 2005 publication of the biography American Perfemius by Bird and Serwin, director Sam Mendes was actually interested in adapting the book into a film. However, that failed to materialize. Authors grew pessimistic at seeing their work adapted to the silver screen. J. Dever Warga optioned the book, then commissioned and rejected several scripts. During the pandemic, Wargo flew to Hollywood to meet actor James Woods, who set up a meeting with Charles Roven, a producer for various Christopher Nolan films. So, in turn, that's how Nolan ended up directing this. And Nolan actually decided to make a film on J. Robert Oppenheimer even prior to actually reading American Prometheus. And during Tenet, Robert Pattinson gave the director a book of Oppenheimer's speeches. And according to Nolan, the speeches showed the physicist wrestling with the implications of what happened and what he's done. And Nolan wanted to pick what it would have been like to be Oppenheimer in those moments, which is in contrast to Tenet, which employs time travel to curb a potential weapon of mass destruction. And that's all I'm really think, because, like, you know, not to make this too
Yeah, we got a lot to talk about, and rather than breaking into details, yeah, I'm with you.
I think we should really go on to this. Hold on. Oh, here we go. This film works the first time in many years. Nolan did not cast Michael Caine, who appeared in every Nolan film since Batman Begins. When asked about Caine's answer to this film, it's like, he's with us in spirit, but not an actual actor. No. He was unable to join us for this one, but he's always with us in spirit. I've had the most wonderful collaboration with him over the years. So,
We even get a speech about him when he's not there. I love it.
yeah.
Oh, man.
So, likes and dislikes.
Where do you want to start? I think likes makes more sense. I don't want to steal the show if you want to go first.
Sure. The cinematography is beautiful in this movie. Like, completely top-notch beautiful.
I have to agree. Lighting was great. Sound was great. Camera angles were fantastic. Shout out to the costume and makeup departments.
Oh, yeah.
I absolutely, like, the production quality of this movie is the top tier.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen, like, a movie in theaters in, like, since COVID happened, but, like, this is probably the first, like, movie that I've seen in a movie theater that I was actually impressed by the visuals since, like, Mad Max Fury Road. Like, especially, like, the scenes where, like, Oppenheimer's talking about quantum physics, and then, like, they, like, cut to, like, you know, the physics part of, like, what he's talking about, like, the visuals with that, just, which I'm pretty sure is done, you know, with actual, like, CG as opposed to practical effects, but regardless of what it is, like, how, like, everything with that's just so beautiful and well done. A lot of, like, the locations that are shot are, like, very, very beautiful, and, like, just, like, the image quality is, like, really, really crisp.
Yeah, as far as settings go, I think that a lot of their settings were, like, accurate. Like, obviously,
Right.
the Manhattan Project and all of the research happened in a the American Southwest desert, right? And like it genuinely felt like you were there. Even when he was traveling and he was in colleges, like they felt realistic. The set design, the choice for sets, not only felt quality, but it also felt accurate, which I think was important for this film.
Yes. On top of that, the acting's top notch as well.
For sure. Stahlman was texting me as he watched it yesterday, and I think we both kind of agreed that there are a lot of nods that are going to go out here for both Cillian Murphy as well as the supporting cast. I mean, like they're going to get some attention come Oscars.
Yeah, Robert Downey Jr. is great. Rami Malek is great. The guy that played Einstein's pretty.
Honestly, Matt Damon is going to get a Best Supporting Actor for this one, and if he doesn't, he absolutely should. He is integral to this story, and he plays it so well.
Absolutely. Honestly, I'd be kind of disappointed if he doesn't get Best Supporting Actor in this. I should say actress, but no actor in this. Yeah, like he does such a such a good job in this movie. I also like the fact that I kind of learned a few things about J. Robert Oppenheimer in this. I didn't realize that he was like questioned for of course, again, I don't know how historically accurate this is, but if it is historically accurate, I didn't realize that he was like as left-wing as he's portrayed in this movie, and also that he was questioned for like the atomic bomb, like how to make it being leaked, which, spoiler alert, if you know the historical things of it, it was Julius Rosenberg, and unfortunately his wife got swept into it, but wasn't Oppenheimer.
You mentioned the historical accuracies there. I think that's a big for me. Like that's a big tally in the win column, is that like they did their research here. I know that's a pretty common theme for all of the stuff we've done with Christopher Nolan, but this was so thorough. Everything was super in depth. Like you said, like this was a learning opportunity. Like, I mean, obviously the entertainment value of the movie, the quality of it far surpasses your ability to watch this as any sort of like documentary, right? But honestly, they do their research to make sure they're getting all of those details right. They're not just pushing a story forward, they're giving you accuracy in order to create the dramatics involved, which I think is massively impressive.
I think it also helps, like, because like the characters themselves are like really good and honestly very fleshed out. I also was like impressed with like how Robert Downey Jr.'s character kind of like unfolds. Like, you're just thinking like, okay, maybe he's like, because this whole entire thing is basically kind of like a mystery on whether like did Oppenheimer like leak this or not, because it flashes back and forth between,
and also his culpability for it, right? Like,
right,
yeah.
And then you basically find out, no, Robert Downey Jr. is just pissed off at Oppenheimer because he thinks that whatever conversation he had with Einstein made him hate him.
I'll get more into this with dislikes, honestly, but I do think that the fact that a narrative was developed outside of the normal was passable. I thought that created for a better movie, but
that being said, I think we'll give it away to you, because I know that you've been sitting on this for a while and wanted a lot to freaking talk about.
I really have been sitting on this. I have had so many thoughts, dude. It's inhuman. So one of my big takeaways was Christopher Nolan's style. I will say that like when you watch the movie, you jump right into that the cutting and timeline skipping and all of that. Like, it can be kind of jarring if you go in not anticipating it, but I think that the way that this movie told the story in that jumpy order made the whole thing interesting. I think this was a really good job by Nolan to decide what cuts went where and using everything appropriately. It didn't feel like there was anything out of place, anything confusing. Again, little jarring maybe if you're not ready for it, but if you understand that it's Christopher Nolan, I mean, I think this was
right. He has he has a mystery thing, and for you to piece together the mystery, he does it through time jumps.
And like, and this one wasn't really a mystery, right? Like,
Right.
Oppenheimer was a real person. The Manhattan Project and then the atomic bomb were real things. Like, there was no part of this story that came to you as new information or something dramatic because everybody knows we dropped the bomb, right? Like that.
Right.
There's no shock at the end. But the ability to drive that narrative using those jump cuts. The other part of the cutting that I liked a lot was that you could always tell based on certain characters at what point in time it happened. There was never any confusion as to was this first or was that first, because you can see the characters physically aging. I mean, I think Cillian Murphy in the year it took to film this, right? I mean, he had like a 60-year age window between when it like the film starts and when the film ends. Like you can see 60 different years of aging through his face, and I think that's incredible. Like, again, shout out to the makeup department, because absolutely incredible stuff.
The makeup department definitely should get an Academy Award on this, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that there are films that are going to like do things bigger, bolder, and more dramatic. But as far as like being able to tell this story, like, again, fascinating and incredible. I want to jump back to the acting again, because I feel like, there were so many characters that like were well acted that had 3 lines. You brought up Rami Malek, right? I think he had 4 sentences of dialogue, right? But but it was noticeable. He delivered them flawlessly. Like I mean, we raved about Rami Malek during the Bond podcast. Like, by all means, we understand how I feel about this guy as an actor. I think he's magnificent, right? But like, even if you take an unbiased opinion in, I think the way that he delivers his 4 lines in the moment, the cadence, the setting, the whole thing. Like, I think that even those 4 sentences matter, and I think that they were like really well constructed. The fact that we put such good actors in such small little places in this movie really drove it home. I like incredible stuff. It really just the acting was top tier from everybody across the board. It was fantastic,
and it never felt like a wasted performance. It wasn't like in some previous Christopher Nolan films where he'd have like a somewhat well-known actor there, and then he only has like a couple lines, and then you're just like, and then it's just a cameo, and you just kind of forget about that character. In this, it's like even actors with bit parts like Rami Malek have like
they're fulfilling. There's a purpose. Something drives them to be there. They're not just a character, and like that. I love that. I will also say that like they do a really great job at filling the space. This movie is long. When you get towards the end of the movie, it's definitely going to feel long, but there's never wasted space. It's not like it drags because this movie is long for the sake of being long.
Because this is not directed by Stanley Kubrick.
Right, but they fill the space, right? Like they put all of the things in all of the places that every second of this movie becomes super important. It's definitely a lot. Like, you're going to feel tired and worn out by the end because it is so action packed. I think gives the wrong idea. Like, this isn't like a kung fu movie where there's just fighting all of the time, but there's so much to pay attention to that you're gonna feel worn out by the end. I think this movie was just so phenomenally done that I think my dislikes are actually going to be a surprise here if you're ready to jump over. Okay, I mentioned earlier that like I liked the idea that they added some sort of story element, some creative element to the movie that wasn't just the narrative of this is how we built the bomb, this is when we dropped the bomb. I liked the fact that they did it. I hated what they did. There's if you really break down Oppenheimer's role in the Manhattan Project, building a bomb, there is a question just inherently, with or without this movie, about his morality, right? Right. About did he, I think Christopher Nolan highlighted it really well. They bring it up like pretty explicitly several times that if I make the bomb, it's to save my people, to make sure that the Jews are not eradicated by the Nazis, right? But I also don't have this moral obligation that just because I built it means that we get to use it or not use it, right? Like, it existing does not inherently mean that bad will happen from it. So there's that question of morality. How responsible is Oppenheimer for building the bomb?
Right.
Which I think is fantastic. There's enough to drive a storyline there, right? But instead, then there's the leaks, right? And then there's by the time you get to the last, I'd say like half an hour, 45 minutes of the movie, you start to like realize that Robert Downey Jr.'s character is the bad guy, right? And it's almost like we're no longer questioning the morality of Oppenheimer. We're now painting him as hard as we can that he's a good guy.
Yeah.
And that just felt unnecessary as a push. Like, it just, you can question his morality. You can believe whatever you want. I don't even mind if somebody does believe that he is a good guy for creating a tool, right? Like, I think it's a weird argument, but I don't even blame you for it. Especially through the first couple hours of this movie, if that's what frames your decision, I get it. But the idea that like we're not questioning how moral or immoral it was, we're trying to paint him intentionally as a good person is really fucking weird. And I think it was unnecessary as a push. I think it made the last 45 minutes of this movie very difficult to chew on. It sat in a really weird place for me.
Yeah, it's not really that great of a payoff, to be honest, you know?
Well, and I think that, again, they use everything really thoroughly, right? Like, you mentioned earlier the Einstein. If you've seen the movie, you'll understand how long they kind of held on to it until it became one of the last lines of the film, right? Like, you'll get it, and everything, like, when it's revealed to you, it is important, and you're happy that they did it, but it's also just like, we didn't need that portion of the narrative. I don't need 40 minutes of storyboarding to tell me that Robert Downey Jr.'s character is mad that Einstein doesn't like him, right? Like, we don't need it. It's a weird push, and it also just paints Oppenheimer to be a good guy rather than just creating a story. I feel like you can add dramatics elsewhere.
Absolutely.
You mentioned earlier who the leaks were, and I think those those testimonials would have been interesting, and you could have created narrative there, right? I think the play into Oppenheimer's morality, right, or his political leanings and political beliefs and how the bomb got used, I think creates narrative. And I don't think that what we did with Robert Downey Jr.'s character was the correct direction to go. It was very weird.
Yeah, and it's also really weird that you have all this going on, and when the storyline's basically like, yeah, so we're gonna basically try to screw over Oppenheimer just because Robert Downey Jr. is a petty son of a bitch.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of.
It's a really weird plot device for a movie of this scope.
Yeah, it just kind of felt like we got the important parts of the historical piece in focus, and then we just crafted 30 minutes of weird, shitty story on the side because we needed something new. And it felt weird. I obviously didn't dislike this movie, but the way that the ending drove itself home was odd. And like you said, weird lack of payoff.
Yeah, and on top of that, this movie does like bog down in certain points, like certain points in the middle, the ending. Definitely like 45 minutes.
I would say right before you start to see the turn of Robert Downey Jr.'s character, like in that weird transition between built the bomb, took the bomb, dropped the bomb, here's how he starts to become an activist, and then Robert Downey Jr.'s plotline. Like there's like a 15-minute stretch in there that's where it really started to hit me like, oh my God, okay, they're chugging along now.
Yeah.
That was
that, and I also thought it was weird that, you know how like in a lot of flashback scenes that's in black and white?
Mm-hmm.
I find it weird how like it's the middle of the timeline that's in those scenes are in black and white.
So it didn't bother me only because it was like they put it in black and white at the very beginning of the movie because it was the setup for the story that was mostly linear, right?
Right.
They did interject sections of it that, again, they put it back in black and white, but I think the only reason it was black and white is because it was used as a plot driver, not as the focus. So that didn't bother me so bad. It was I just
thought it was a weird choice.
It was kind of jarring, but I think it also made it easier to watch in the idea that, like, well, if the older stuff is black and white and the newer stuff is in color, then most of this movie is in black and white. And I feel like you miss some of the visual effects if the older stuff was black and white. Like, It was weird. It was an odd style choice, especially because like you can see the age of the characters, and again, they did such a good job that like you probably didn't even need the black and white. It was kind of weird for that to be juxtaposed that way when it was unnecessary.
Right. That's basically my dislikes. Do you have any more? Because I do realize I do have like one like of like a certain scene.
No, I think I've covered the basis of it. I don't want to bog down. I don't want to sit here for hours talking about the all of the things that I liked and disliked about this. I could probably talk about it for 6 hours, but
I will say like probably like my most like favorite scene in this is actually when Oppenheimer is talking about quantum physics, and then you see the visuals and everything, and then you have like the like symphony music, the orchestral music in the background. And it's almost like Oppenheimer's like conducting a symphony. How he's like explaining quantum physics to his class.
Yeah.
And with everything going on in the background, I think that was like superbly well done, and that is and that scene just kind of stuck in my head throughout the entire movie. And I wish I would have actually said that while we were in likes and dislikes, but it didn't come to me because, we just kind of just woke up, so.
Yeah. As an overall, I mean, I think we can jump into rankings, quote unquote. I want to say that, like, I did enjoy this movie. It was very good, but I think I hyped myself up enough on it that I was kind of let down. I love the focus of the film, right? Like, I think the Oppenheimer, the nuclear weapons, the World War II, like, all of that stuff fascinates me, right? I think politics are a really great place to film a dramatic movie around, and I think that was involved. Like, there were so many things about the subject that I loved. Christopher Nolan's one of my favorite directors, if not my outright favorite director. And all of those pieces coming together, I was super excited for it. And I guess just some of the design choice kind of let me down a little. And I think that's leading to some of my disappointment. I don't think it was bad by any stretch. I think that this one probably goes like slightly ahead of Dunkirk for me. In the idea that it was a better movie, I think it was better researched and more thorough. I think that film quality was better, but I guess just like it didn't blow me away like I was hoping it would.
Right. Dunkirk did blow me away, but I think objectively Oppenheimer's a very better put together film, especially since the time skipping makes sense in this movie as opposed to Dunkirk.
Fair.
But like that's really because I was actually texting Ted and I was comparing this to Dunkirk the entire time, and because I'm like, all right, it's not better than Tenet, I know that right away, but is it better or worse than Dunkirk? Because I'm getting a lot of Dunkirk vibes from it, and to me, it's like, yeah, it goes ahead of Dunkirk for me.
All right. Well, at least for the foreseeable future, I don't know of any other Christopher Nolan movies yet to be released, since this one came out basically a month ago from time of recording.
Yeah, it's not like he's like Roger Corman where he has an extra 2 days of filming and it's like, all right, let's assemble the cast and actually make another movie.
Which
is why we're never going to do Roger Corman for this podcast, because we would be here for 5 years. Because that's what Roger Corman would do.
Yeah. So, like I said, this tentatively brings the end of the Christopher Nolan series for the movie podcast. I know that we've kind of jumped weirdly. We did Christopher Nolan and then we did Kubrick, and now we're doing Christopher Nolan again. But from the time that you watch this, we'll have a whole bunch of Halloween specials coming out, 3 weeks of videos every single day, Monday to Friday, which is pretty cool, as long as we have our shit together, for 3 weeks in October. So everything's really cool for that. Be sure to check out other episodes, previous, iterations of the directors, future episodes with Halloween, even all the way back to the James Bond podcast. Be sure to check those out. If you guys are interested in us hanging out, we watch movies in the Discord on Tuesdays. By the time you're seeing this, we may also have added Saturdays, so like 2 different days you can watch movies with us every single week, which is pretty fucking cool. And then you can also check out our streams, Stahlman at Traductus and myself at Ted Green Eagles. Thanks you guys for checking this one out. Please go see this movie. I know I tried my hardest to not like overtly talk about it and break down every line of dialogue for 6 fucking hours, but yeah, please go enjoy it. I'm here to talk about it as much as anybody wants to. Please, like, this was so good. All right, thank you guys for watching. We'll see you here in October.
Yep. See you.